I don't really even have anything to talk about. I just need to whip this out because it keeps people away from me. It's fucking bizarre. Like, there's not a lot of people out, right? You can see, right? No, no. But I keep getting people that want to be where I am. I make the area look good because I'm good looking. Just because you step in the same spot, it might not do the same thing for you. So, you know, there's a lot of other space out here to enjoy. I mean, there's lots of room. So at 8 in the morning, I mean, fuck, you can walk over there, you can walk over. But, you know, whatever. While I'm old man complaining. In 1969, we called Nixon from the moon on a telephone. We called him from the fucking moon, right? Supposedly, on the telephone. But when I go into Ross, I can't send a text message. That checks out, right? I mean, that's, you know. The thing is, though, it's funny, like, I say that, and I'm sure, you know, there are people that would think that's funny and agree that's weird, but there's plenty of people that would try to tell me, well, they use a space phone. You know, NASA's phones are a lot stronger. You know, if you have a NASA phone, it's like, dude, really? It's the in defense of the system thing. So it's just like, you know, it used to bewilder me. Like, why would you want to defend the system that's fucking enslaving you and everyone in some capacity? And then you realize, oh, they're not defending the system as individuals. They are the system. They are the system. They're part of the system. They are humanoid-looking representations of the system, the assets. And again, I've been talking a lot about assets lately. It doesn't mean you should treat them any different. You got to treat these fake people the same way that you treat real people. You got to treat these unholy, empty shells in the shape of people like they're real. You know, and you can't like go around talking about it. Especially not on like fucking YouTube or something, because then people will flag you as an absolute genocidist, you know. Or I mean, what are you gonna do? We're in that time. We're in that time that I used to see in science fiction movies, those dystopian science fiction tales, where you know, the protagonist is some over anxietied out guy, you know, trying to fit in with the automatons and not make too much noise. I mean, I don't try to do any of that, but I mean, a lot of times that's the, you know, the guy in 1984 or any of those kind of things. The guy in 1984. I'm very well read. I can't fucking read books anymore. I mean, after this, it was really the switch to mobile phones. As far as reading, like, even when I've been using the internet since 1996. I had broadband in my home in 1999, a little bit earlier than a lot of people, and I still read books like all the fucking time. Now I can read books online, like on my Kindle. I can read books like that, but I can read, you know, I read a lot of documents and whatever. I can read on my phone. But then if I hold a book, although, you know, I say that, but I've been reading the Old Testament, and that seems to be going pretty good. It seems to be going down pretty easy. except that the book is fucking crazy. Like, I never read the Old Testament. I mean, I've read parts of it, I knew parts of it. I had the idea that basically the Old Testament God is Satan. He's the Khazar's daddy. That whole deal. But I never read the book, you know? So because the only books I've read probably for the past fucking 10 years have been stupid rock fucking biographies. I just read a ton of them recently, like Sex Pistol stuff, some stuff about post-punk, a couple of Duran Duran guys, Steve Jones. So I read all these books. So now, reading the Old Testament, I automatically start reading them the same way I'd read like a rock biography, which is like I just skip around. Like the way I read those books is I'll be like, oh, I wonder what was happening during the making of this album, or why was that guy kicked out? So I'll start there and then work my way around and then try to find the parts I haven't read. You can't do that with the Old Testament. You can't do that, and especially you know, that my shock really upon reading some of it, I'm like, you know, I just randomly opened up to a part, started reading, and I started jumping around, and every time it was like, what the fuck? Really? This God's really fucked up. Like, what's his problem? Like, what's his fucking problem, you know? Always ordering people to kill other people, lives in a big tent out in the middle of the fucking desert, and needs an endless supply of like goats and livestock and virgins. I'm like, why does God need all that livestock? What's he doing with these things? You know, just, and then, so I was like, you know what, I gotta fucking start from the very beginning, right to Genesis, which, you know, just like in the New Testament, it reads kind of weird. You know, it's like, it's hard to conceptualize. And the thing is, a lot of it's translated by rabbis, and I don't trust those fucking guys, you know, and because a lot of it's Hebrew text, right? So I'm reading that thing, and it says everything so plainly. And you know, we're used to having some kind of context, I guess, in modern, you know, book reading. I don't know what to call it. Modern book enjoyment. And it's just like, yeah, you know, I mean, it's basically the Genesis is kind of the same as it is in the New Testament. You know, God made this, then he made that. He separated the waters above from the waters below, because above us, you know, I believe is water, you know. So, but it just says it so plainly without really anything, well, not you need context, but I don't know. It's just like, I guess that's why they call it faith, I guess. But yeah, so I'm looking at who put the book together, who put this particular edition together. It's a bunch of rabbis, man. And I'm like, well, they don't have my best interest in mind. You know, these people, you know, want to kill me, you know. So it's like, that's the whole problem with holy books anyway. You know, this wasn't written by the hand of God. It was written by a bunch of guys. You know, it was put together by a bunch of guys. So it's like, and then you get the King James version. It's like, I don't fucking know King James. I don't trust him. You know, there's a long history of the monarchy making changes to holy books to better suit the environment for themselves in the current time in which they're ruling. So I mean, you know, and I know, and it's the funny thing is when you look at Old Testament versus New, all the names in the Old Testament, you know, the different books, they're all very, very Khazarian. You know, Khazarian names. And then you get to the New Testament, it's all like Luke, John, David. It's like almost like they said, all right, we really got to get this edition has to be more geared toward the Goyim. You know what I mean? And it feels like that. And a lot of the additions that were made that I've seen beforehand, before reading the Old Testament, is to take the edge off of stuff. And there's a lot of placation there too. That whole turn the other cheek thing, that's not in the Old Testament. I think God carried a sword in the Old Testament. I think there's some of that in the New Testament too. If I had a larger channel, I'm sure I'd have Bible scholars in the comments, but so I'm lucky I don't. But yeah, there's a lot of weird stuff about that book. I'm getting through it. It's not like a slog or anything. It's interesting, but as I'm reading it, every 10 minutes I got to yell at my wife. Why does God have a snout? Why does he have a long snout? What the fuck is that? I don't know. I'm watching something. What are you talking about? I don't know. This goes on every 10 minutes reading that thing. So it's better when I read it alone. But yeah, that's a weird one. And I think there's a bit of the Bail Bro, Scale Bro thing happening here, because was this always like this? Was this always a description here? That they talk about his wingspan. I don't know about you, but wingspan, long snout, endless supply of virgins. He needs cattle every day to take to his big ass tent out in the middle of the desert. That fucking, I said this before in another video recently. It sounds like Smog the Dragon. And why is God always telling people to kill other people? I think it just backs up my idea that God in the Old Testament is actually Satan. Because we know those Khazarians, they worship Satan, right? I mean, it's all there. You know that before. You don't have to read the Old Testament to see the pedophilia, the wars, the way they run the farm here. And those guys are just the bagmen. They don't have any real power. People always want to blame them for everything. And yeah, they do a lot of damage. I mean, fuck yeah, they do a lot of damage. They're, the right wing is pro-bombing these countries, right? And the left wing is opening all the borders of white nations, of course. So it's like they're coming from both sides to breed people out. And I hate using the word white. I've never considered myself white. I'm fucking Irish. No one ever used the term white growing up, ever. Like, maybe black people did, because they don't know what the different things are. But in my, growing up in my neighborhoods, you're Irish, or you're Italian, or you're Lithuanian. My best friend was Armenian. My other best friend was a Slav. We would identify by our country of origin. I don't like this whole thing, this whole white people thing. I don't think any of my friends or myself ever called ourselves white or consider ourselves white. I mean, I don't know. It seems like a trap. It's a trap. They want to herd you into using certain terminology, which is what how it goes for everything. But yeah, it's almost like there were too many teams. You know what I mean? It's like they had too many teams of white-skinned people. So they said, well, we'll just call all of them white. And that way we can target them better, to demonize them better. Because you can't say, well, we got to get rid of all the Irish and Italians and Polish. You can't, it's just too much work, right? So we'll just call them all white people. And the same can be said, we say black people, but you could be from Ethiopia, you could be Nigerian. It usually means African, but, there's black people in Liberia. There's black people and brown people and white from all from different places, but they seem to have gotten it done. They've got it down to like people of color, which can mean anything but white, and then white people. It's like a way to simplify the groups. to better weaponize them against each other, which is all they want to do. Because as long as we're fighting with each other, we're not bothering them. Or we're not, we think the other is the problem. Or I don't fucking, and this is a common thing among friends of mine and people that would be considered white. We were raised to always, like a mantra, from our parents, school, anyone of authority, you treat everyone equal. Race is just skin deep. Don't be judgmental. Meanwhile, on the other end of the fence, people are taught to hate white skins from the fucking jump. We didn't know that. So, that's why sometimes you have those problems. You wander into a neighborhood with diversity, and you're like, oh, hi, guys. And then they find you in a park, naked, bleeding from the anus. And you're like, what happened? But that's by design, I guess. But yeah, I was mentioning, I think it was the Queen video. I was doing a video on a Queen magazine, Queen the band. Growing up, for me anyway, there wasn't this minefield around people's points of origin or group. It was like, oh, that guy's gay, or oh, that guy's black, or oh, he's Asian. And that was it. And that was it. No one cared. It wasn't a big deal. It wasn't this big thing now. Now it's like, you can't talk about certain people because you don't have their perspective or something. It's fucking retarded. They do that a lot in fiction too. There's like the big push, and at least in the comic book industry, and I'm sure, well, no, it's branched out into all kinds of media, where it's like if you want to write a certain character, you have to be of the background, persuasion, or sexuality of that character you're writing about. And if you're not, then you can't write about that character. That gives me a headache, man. How would we have any kind of fiction at all? A Hobbit didn't write Lord of the Rings because they don't fucking exist, right? Well, actually, I mean, I've seen some hobbits around here. But, they don't exist. Same goes for when they talk about, they got to get all the white men out of the superhero movies. You got to replace them all with black female lesbians for some reason. How come they just can't have black women? They have to have them be lesbians too? I don't get that whole... But anyway, that's just what they like to do, because I guess it checks a bunch of boxes at once. They're all into economizing things. They're farmers. That's what they do with us, But, yeah, it was this whole thing about being able to see yourself on the screen. What the fuck is that? What are you trying to say here? I love the movie Clockwork Orange, right? It's great. I don't fucking see myself in fucking Alex, Or I watch fucking Star Trek. I don't look at Spock and go, oh, I can relate to him because I'm also from Vulcan and have green blood. It's fucking retarded. They weaponized people's backgrounds, races, sexualities to a point where that everything's so touchy. Even people listening to me talk like this would probably be like, what the fuck, this is Nazi. Whatever, you can't... That shit doesn't work anymore, though, because words like that have kind of lost all meaning. Because they've been used so many times in instances where, it's not... where it doesn't make sense or it isn't applicable. And to the point where they have lost all meaning. So when you say, when you call someone that, it's like, who gives a fuck? It doesn't mean any. And plus, it's like, unfortunately, there are kids coming up that are growing up in this environment, and they're going to be fucking confused, provided, they get to live a full life. I'm hoping we're out of here before before too long. I'm really getting tired of this place. Not Hawaii, I love Hawaii, but this whole thing, you know. But the awareness level has to get to a critical mass. The awareness of divinity, the awareness of spirituality, the awareness of what you really are, that you're not your body, you're actually the energy inside it, or broadcasting to it, you know, however you want to look at it. Until that happens, we're trapped here. I was trying to do a Rickyism with Hope Springs Eternal, but I couldn't think of a good one. Ricky from the Trailer Park Boys. He always fucks up these old tiny malapropisms, I think they're called. They're old sayings. Like instead of water under the bridge, he'll say water under the fridge. Fucking great show. I guess the tank's empty. Talk about the Trailer Park Boys. Nah, I'll talk about the trailer. I'll fucking do 2 hours on the Trailer Park Boys. Don't blame the teacher. Blame the school.